Nobody in here. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start the commissioners meeting Wednesday, May 6th, 2026.
Yes.
All commissioners are present, starting off with public comment. I don't see anything. I see Mark here, but that's not public. So, and he's on the phone talking. So we're gonna move on. And since he's on the phone and he's the only one here, elected officials, department heads, I'm gonna skip. And since we have the judge here, why don't you start off by saying who you are and then we can talk about why you're here.
Great. Good morning. I'm Ann Edwards. I'm the Superior Court Judge next door.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So you wanted to come over and just give an update, get any input from us or anything like that?
I did. I just wanted to come over and introduce myself. I've been here in Cheshire County since October of 2024. And finally, I'm getting out and about to meet different folks. I have had the pleasure of meeting Commissioner Stewart a couple of different times at Supreme Court graduations, which has been very nice to have her.
I think we have one coming up.
We do on May 19th. I was going to remind everyone of that at 2 o'clock. We have another graduation. And I just wanted to talk about the fact that I really enjoy being in Cheshire County. I enjoy how much support the county provides to the treatment court, to the House of Corrections, the services that are available, both pretrial services and while people are at the House of Corrections are significant, and they are very much appreciated from the perspective of the judges, because it means that we have places for people to go to be able to get some rehabilitation even while they're waiting for their cases to be heard. That's not necessarily the case in every county. So it's nice to be able to be in a county. I came from Stratford County where I was for 10 months before I came here. So I had gotten used to having some pretrial services, and it's nice to have those continued. And so I didn't know if I don't have anything specific to report. The court's busy. It keeps moving along. The circuit court is much busier than the Superior Court is, but there is a lot going on because of the availability that we have. We are able to reach cases much more quickly in the Superior Court here, especially civil cases, than we're able to, I was able to reach in Stratford County, for example, or even in Hillsborough North. And so I think that is a service to the citizens of Cheshire County, because there's nothing worse than having a real estate case involving your home or your personal property or your business property and not being able to have that case reached for 3 or 4 years. And here I am trying 2 civil cases with respect to property this month that are less than a year old. So
That's good.
that is good. That's good for the property owners.
Yeah.
Because they can have their disputes decided much more quickly.
You just said on the Ferris and Troy water thing, that right there.
Yeah.
I read that news story and I gotta tell you, I don't understand what that means to the process.
So there's a way to move a case along more quickly than going to trial, which is by filing what's called a motion for summary judgment.
Yeah.
And in that case, that was what the town had done. And the challenge is not all issues can necessarily be decided on summary judgment. In order to decide a summary judgment motion, there has to be no material facts in dispute. And in that case, what I found in that order is that there are some material facts in dispute on certain claims, but there are other claims that the law is clear on. And in those claims, I dismissed those claims.
So did that simplify?
It will streamline it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And it's important in cases like that, because that's a complicated property. That's a good example of a property that's very complicated and how to deal with that and how to move forward on it. It's streamlining it will help both parties.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me is that it's a property that could change the character of that town significantly, but if those commons were be able to be built, and it could create businesses on the common, all different. So it's been an interesting thing to watch. So
great. And I think, and those are the kind of cases As I always say to people, I'm an old Department of Transportation attorney from the state, and the biggest arguments we often had in some of the most difficult cases were when you took a 2-foot strip on the front of somebody's property to be able to put a sidewalk in. And property is really personal to people, and it should be. It's their property, they own it, and they don't want to lose any of it, or they don't want to have it used for another use. So being able to move on those cases quicker is better.
It's always fascinating to me because if you go to Hastings Ave in Keene, there is 1 yard where the sidewalk ends. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then.
Well, actually,
That's
no,
even
not.
all over West Keene.
Yeah.
Well, no, not anymore.
Not anymore, they-
No, when I was on council in 2018, we went out there and surveyed the thing, and there were 2 property owners who were holding out.
Yeah,
And they were threatening for, eminent domain and such like that, and they finally got it done.
okay.
We were just noticing that, my husband and I, as we were walking around Starlight down to Robbins the other night, it just, the sidewalk that comes around Starlight onto Robbins just ends.
Yeah,
And then there's no sidewalk.
that's because you got a bullheaded property owner that
There's nothing.
said, no.
Well, the thing about having a sidewalk is then you're liable for maintaining it in the wintertime,
No, you're not.
Not in the
No, no,
city.
not in the city.
not in the city.
No, that's a right of way.
So who's responsible for clearing the sidewalk?
City.
Because I know where we came from.
City.
You had
We have
to
these
shovel.
mini little plows,
That come-
sidewalk plows that go throughout the city.
They come through.
I've always wanted to be.
shovel.
Yeah, they come through afterwards, yeah.
Yes.
Then
I've always been wanted to be in one of those.
the postman complains to you.
Yeah.
Neat little thing, and they just drive along and have a good old time.
Yeah.
So, can a little bit of what's, initially there was bail reform, and then they struck that down. What does that meant to you?
So it means more people are spending time at the House of Corrections. And rather than being released on bail. That's the change, the most recent change from September of 2025. That the state has a requirement to show by probable cause that somebody's either dangerous in the community or to themselves, or that they are likely to not appear for hearings.
So did that put a higher bar on your discretion?
It did, it took away discretion.
Took it away?
Not completely, but it took
Yeah.
away a lot of the discretion that the judges had beforehand. There are still ways to be able to release people after so it's a presumption that if the state can prove it by probable cause, then we are supposed to have somebody kept at the House of Corrections. And if there are ways that that presumption can be rebutted and we can release somebody on certain conditions in a county like this, it's helpful to have electronic monitoring, alco sensors, all of the other pretrial services, because those are the services that allow judges to be able to make decisions that there are other ways that I could release someone and be able to make sure they show up for the hearings or that they're not dangerous to someone.
Because technically, if you have a bracelet on, you're still in the custody of the jail.
You are, that's right, and you have to
Yeah.
follow the procedures of the electronic monitoring program, and if you violate any of those rules or procedures, the House of Corrections can bring that person back in. They don't have to come to the court to ask to have that person brought back in.
So bail reform means you can't use the bracelet as much as you were able to?
The change to the bail law last year does make it harder for me to have people out on the bracelets.
What criteria do you use to determine whether or not somebody should be out on the bracelet? And if they violate the terms and conditions, how many times can they come back and be granted that privilege again?
So I don't think I could answer the last question because it just is a matter of what happens with individuals. I think so I couldn't give you a number of times that someone would be released on the electronic monitoring if it was more than once. I think that when you're looking at whether to release someone rather than hold them at the House of Corrections, you're really looking at things like, will they show up for the hearings? Are they dangerous? Is there a victim involved in the case who is afraid or concerned for their safety? Are they dangerous to themselves? Sometimes criminal defendants are dangerous to themselves, not to another person. And so when you're looking at all of those sort of factors, those are the things that you look at to decide whether or not somebody needs to be at the House of Corrections versus being back out in the community. I also look at things like whether someone has a full-time job, whether they have a place to live, whether they have an illness that's not being properly treated. Because it's sort of all of those factors that come into play, whether they have support in the community. So it's all of those things that I look at in making a determination as to whether or not somebody should be released on bail or whether they should be kept at the House of Corrections.
Yeah, we had a situation where we had an inmate who was on dialysis and
Mhm.
because there was no Medicare or Medicaid anymore, it was costing us quite a lot of money and they, I think, didn't we try to get him out on bail and couldn't?
We might have.
Yeah.
It could be, there are times that people at the House of Corrections will need a surgery or something like that. And so that the House of Corrections is very good about working with the state and then working with the defense counsel, filing pleadings with the judges saying, here's what our plan is. And sometimes we have someone released to go have a surgery. They obviously can't have an electronic monitoring bracelet on them while they're being operated on, but it is something that could be placed on them after they've recovered enough from surgery. But it allows them to be able to go and have a surgery that they need or a treatment they need, like
And
dialysis.
This is an issue that's not gonna go away because what we're seeing is the acuity level of the individuals coming into our hotel on the hill. Are, I mean, they're really struggling, you know, they're getting older.
Right.
And so, all those things mixed together, it is a real concern on how we afford that because Medicaid after 30 days goes away. And then it's on us to carry that load. And so dialysis or any of that, actually, what's interesting to me is we're talking, where was it? Oh, I was in a meeting yesterday. We were talking about what would happen if we utilize some of that rural transformation health fund to put a dialysis machine at the corrections facility with us paying a tech to do that service for a period of time. I mean, this is what, you know, we're trying to figure out how to keep our costs at a level that, you know, and if somebody was gonna pay for us to put a machine in and then we could have a tech run it and we pay the tech, would that make more sense? I don't know, but it was just, we were just throwing things around.
I know, and what was it about, like, a couple months ago, we had an inmate come in that, like, 2 days after he got brought in, he was supposed to have some major surgery. I mean, maybe that, and it had to get canceled, but it was something he needed. And it was one of those dilemmas, like, oh my God, I mean, had he not gotten into trouble, he would have had this surgery, and now we might be on the hook for this major surgery, because it was pretty major. I can't remember exactly what ended up happening, but something happened where whether he got released or whether he had his own personal insurance versus, but I don't know, it was one of those scary moments.
One of the things I found interesting yesterday too is that one of the individuals I was talking to was the superintendent who used to be the superintendent, and he's the county administrator now, but he used to be the superintendent of the DOC in Merrimack. And he was saying that their stay too, it used to be that it would be 28 days, 27 days, is now hitting 60 days. And I don't know if that's a norm for us, but something I'm gonna ask Nick about is, are we seeing a length of stay that's going out more than it has in the past? Have you noticed any trends like that?
My guess is that there probably is an increase since the bail law changed last September. Because I think it's more likely that people are staying at the House of Corrections until they're sentenced.
So maybe length of stay increase is appropriate.
I don't know, they're trying to figure it out because this is something they're noticing, which is increasing the population for them, and they don't know yet what they're doing a study to figure out what that looks like.
Why are they doing this study? I mean,
They're just trying to figure out what the turnaround is, because they also take in federal inmates more than we do.
mhm.
And they're just trying to balance out what it's gonna look like in the long term, and does it take away from, with the local increase, because they've seen a significant increase in their facility of locals coming in at a higher level. So that's why they're doing it. They're trying to figure out the rhythm, see if there's anything there that they should be aware of.
Is that bail law gonna see a higher court action? Because it seems to me that, the way the law was written, it really didn't really discuss your right to have a hearing for bail, right? And it seemed to be more punitive than it was, you know, sensible. I don't know. Have you heard about anything like that?
So I haven't heard whether there's a challenge to it. I know that defense lawyers raise different concerns about it during hearings. And so when I hear arguments that the law itself isn't constitutional during a bail hearing, I assume at some point it may be challenged, but I haven't heard that there's any challenge in place.
So when you say punitive, releasing somebody out on bail, is that punitive to the victim or society?
Well, taking away the discretion of a judge who is a human being who was trained in the law and knows something about human nature. Just the fact that, you or the people making the laws happen to be tough on crime and measure.
Well, I think-
Without really taking into consideration the individual case.
I think that people who are in law profession, the profession of the law, not only the courts, but the police, the district attorneys, the House of Correction, they also have an expertise. And so as a citizen, I also believe that what they say or their experience should weigh in on whether or not somebody should be released because they have an issue or because of a human component, because society is bearing that cost of being victims. So I'm not sure it's, punitive is not bad. And I know you've heard me say, spare the rod, spoil the child. And I do not have a problem with that. I do think the laws are in place to protect society from repeat offenders. And some people want to say, well, it wasn't really a crime against the person, but we all bear the cost of lack of security, emotional, mental, physical, when people do not have to have a consequence.
And this law is saying that the legislators know more about that than the judges and the prosecutors on the ground.
Well, sometimes that's true. That's why we vote for them, because they're going to put in place the things that we believe are important.
And thus the debate.
We're stuck in the middle.
Actually,
Exactly. So I do have a question, because I have come to, as you've seen, a couple of drug court graduations.
yes.
So I would like to know more about how you see that program in general, why somebody is recommended to go to drug court versus incarceration. How many times can they go through drug court? Not successful, but they still come back and are given that privilege. So can you talk to me a little bit about that? Because I know drug court isn't easy, but do people use it to change their lives or to avoid incarceration?
So those are excellent questions. I would say, first of all, in order for someone to come into drug court, they have to agree to come into drug court. So I can't sentence someone to drug court unless they agree to it. And the reason for that is because it's a contract. They have to agree that they're going to come in and they're going to follow all of the rules of the treatment court. And so once they come in during, if you ever were in my courtroom during a treatment court plea, when they plead into treatment court, I have a long conversation with them, and they've already gone through the process of meeting with the treatment court team as well. But I have a long conversation with them about the fact that this isn't a get out of jail free card, that they are entering a program that has a lot of checks and balances, and they are going to have to comply with those rules, and that there are graduated sanctions. And if they don't comply with the rules, they're going to find themselves getting sanctioned, and that those sanctions can include time at the House of Corrections without them being able to see it. It's one of the rights that they give away during the time period that they're in treatment court is they aren't allowed to have a bail hearing in accordance with the statute. They have to wait until the next time we have treatment court. So if that's 7 days, they sit at the House of Corrections for 7 days instead of being able to have a bail hearing in 24 or 48 hours. And so if they agree to come into that and plead into it, I would say there are some people who agree to treatment court because they think it's going to be a lot easier than going to the prison or to the House of Corrections for a serious period of time. I think other people really want a change in their lives. And for the people who think that this is going to be an easy course, it's not an easy course. And that's one of the reasons why they get a lot of treatment during it. It's part of the program. It is treatment court. And they change their attitude or they face termination. Because if they don't follow the rules in treatment court, there is a point where they can face being terminated from treatment court.
What is that point?
It all depends. It's different for different people. It doesn't, sometimes it's because people have repeatedly left treatment. Say we've sent them to residential treatment and they've absconded from residential treatment. Other times it's because somebody may have committed another crime while they were part of the treatment court. And if they've committed another crime, particularly a dangerous crime, or they show at all that they're dangerous to the community, those are the kind of criteria we look at as to why somebody might not be the right candidate for treatment court at that point, even though they're in it. And it doesn't, to your other question, Commissioner, where you asked how many times somebody could go through treatment court, we have 2 different groups of people that go through treatment court more than once. One person might be the person that gets through treatment court, successfully completes it, and then years later has a recurrence and finds themselves back in trouble with the law. And they may come through treatment court a second time and go through the process again. We have other people who are in treatment court who might be terminated because, say, they committed a crime that's dangerous. And part of that termination process may allow them to go and serve time either at the House of Corrections or at the prison and then come back into treatment court. So those are the ways that I often see people do in treatment court more than once.
Okay, 2 more questions.
Go ahead.
Dangerous crime versus crime. Crime is crime. So we don't hold the law if it's not a dangerous crime, but it's still a crime.
It all depends what the crime is, so I can't give you a specific example, but I can tell you what. So there are times when somebody may have, let's say they're not allowed to be at Walmart because in the past they shoplifted at Walmart. And so they're found sitting in the front of the Walmart building near the door. They could be arrested for that because there's a no trespass order for them. That is one level of crime. The other level of crime could be, for example, they don't have a driver's license. They're not supposed to be driving. They drove and they caused an automobile accident, which injured themselves and others. That's another level of crime. So when we're looking at different types of crimes or different levels of crimes, we're looking at one was much more dangerous to the community and to the individual than the individual sitting outside of Walmart was. Does that mean that individual sitting outside of Walmart couldn't have escalated? If that person was allowed to sit there for a period of time? Sure, but that would be an example of the types of crimes that we would look at as a treatment for team to determine whether or not somebody in the treatment court was in a place where they were being dangerous to the community.
So the key word for me is crime. It is a crime. And
It
it's not
is.
being punished because of this level. So that's an issue for me. The
But
other,
I just want to interrupt you for a minute. It doesn't mean they're not being punished. It just means they might not be receiving the same punishment. Your question originally to me was what the difference is with respect to somebody being removed from treatment
Right.
court. They aren't being punished necessarily the same.
Mhm.
So they wouldn't necessarily both be removed from treatment court, but it doesn't mean that the person who violated the no trespass order isn't being punished. It just means they aren't being removed from treatment court.
Thank you. Is there ever a time where it is not recommended that somebody go to treatment court?
Yes,
And do you put them in treatment court or incarcerate them if they're recommended not to go?
so it all depends on how the process works. When somebody agrees to consider treatment court as an option, they have to go through a process with the county attorney's office, with probation, and with the public defender's office and they have discussions, the county attorney's office and probation in particular will review the criminal record of the individual. They all make recommendations to the treatment court team as to whether or not that person should be part of treatment court. And there are times when the county attorney's office will say, we don't think this person is the right candidate for treatment court. At that point, some candidates for treatment court say, all right, I'm not going any further. We'll just reach a plea. Others say, I want to go forward and do what's called a naked plea in front of me, which means they come in, there's no agreed to terms, but they're coming in and asking me to put them in treatment court. And there are times that I'm trying to think about whether I don't know that I have ever put anyone into treatment court over the county attorney's objection. I don't think I have, but I do have participants in treatment court who the county attorney's office did not support originally being put into treatment court.
Thank you.
So my last just comment would be that I had the opportunity to sit in your court at one point and watch. We have two individuals, one that owns a storefront down here and another one who's being sued, and he's his own attorney. And what I watched was, you were very fair, but you held people accountable for how they walked through the court hearing. And it was really interesting because it's a very heated situation, and it's always interesting when someone one represents themselves. I think that's a very dangerous thing in my role, but
It's challenging in the court system too. I understand why people do it because it's very expensive to hire attorneys, but it's hard. There are a lot of rules in place. And so you try to be as neutral as you can be and as fair with people being able to do it, because I recognize not everyone can afford to have an attorney there with them, but at the same time, the process has to move and it's got to move under the rules. Everybody's got to be treated fairly.
no, I thought it was an interesting watch because there were some moments where you had to guide the individual because he was pushing too hard and he doesn't know it. And I have to believe that he's representing himself because he chooses to, not because of money. But that's just me. What do I? So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you very much. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. People.
Well, I want to thank you for coming down.
Anything to say?
I don't believe that we've been visited by a judge before. And thank you for that, you know.
Well,
And you said that you're trying to make your rounds.
I am, yes,
That's good.
to
That's
meet
good.
different folks. I've headed to the police department. So
So do you live in the community or are you still
I live in Milford.
in Milford as well? That's
So,
Not too long of a commute. but
no, it
it's-
is not. And I had a son who went to Keene State years ago, so I've spent a fair amount of time in Keene.
Skip, did you have a question?
Yeah, I appreciate you coming out and sharing. Just in general, is there anything that we can do to help the system along?
Can you find housing?
That,
And I,
last night also.
I
That's
say that
an issue for everybody.
it is, and I know that this is a community that's very focused on it. I know there have been many conversations about it. It's just a challenge in the state, and the shelters out here are so beneficial to especially our treatment court participants, but other individuals who come in front of me who just, I mean, I have defendants that are living in their cars in January, and at least they have a car to live in. But all of that, as we know, is just a terrible thing, and I say it jokingly, but not. It is a challenge. It's a challenge throughout the state, and I know that this community in particular is focused on that. It's
The other thing. The country kind of split 50-50 as far as politics go, issues go, so that the debate as to whether or not the drug treatment is really the best use of the limited funds. That's, I find that to be a good discussion as to the pros and cons. And, yeah, it'd be nice to continue the discussion. Maybe in a different format, but yeah.
Agreed, agreed. I think treatment courts, I don't know what our statistics are here in Cheshire County. I know Allison will know. We are working right now with a couple of different individuals who are helping us evaluate how effective our treatment court is and how trauma responsive it is. And part of what we're looking at is one of the danger points for our participants is graduation. Because when they graduate, they are then, most of them, actually almost all of them, are still on probation. So there is a check there and they still see our case manager and they have treatment available to them, but it's their choice.
Mm.
And so part of what we've been talking about is recognizing that graduation is a dangerous time period, is we've been looking at creating a continuing care spectrum that goes for about another year. Not with a lot more services. It essentially would use the services that are available to them now, but it would require them to take advantage of those services, because going from having 2 UAs a week and having all of these mandatory meetings to suddenly being free in the community, which is a community where they were using before, is a challenge that we think could use a better transition. So we don't think it'll cost more or anything, but it's important.
I've seen some of the treatment hearings and what have you, and it is emphasized that help is available
Mhm.
and to try and maintain it. I can understand, as you say, that once you're free, yeah, it could be difficult.
Well, it's such a highly structured program that all of a sudden it's done. And yes, you do have the opportunity to have some level of support, but it's a huge change. I don't know how many times we've had this discussion through the years where I've had individuals in the program and I've had people, when we've interviewed inmates, say, it's, I chose to be in here. Right, because it's easier. I do my time. I don't have to worry about everything on the outside world. I worry about it on some levels, but I don't have to be in it. If I'm in drug court, there's this, and I have to deal with life,
Right.
where it's at too at the same time, because it's right in my face. And I have to worry about where I'm gonna get my meals and everything else. But if I'm in the correction, I can do my time, get my hots, sleep, get up, do my time, they open the door, I'm out, and yeah, so it is an interesting conversation, because I've heard it multiple times, that it's probably one of the most intense programs. And it's why sometimes people have to have these checks and have to end up going back into the correctional facility for a period of time, or whatever, because it's too intense for them, or the temp is there, and you know, and what I've learned about substance abuse overall is that one, when they get caught, it's not the first time that they've done something, it's the 100th time. All right, this is just one time they got caught, and the second thing would be that they could fail multiple times before they get it. And they could fail multiple times and never get it. And it is what it is, but
It's a disease. It's a very challenging disease, and many of the people either began their substance use because they were already doing things that didn't comply with the law, or they have substance use and then they started breaking the law. And so as a result, you have this criminogenic thinking that surrounds it too. So it's not like you're just dealing with the substance use issue alone. You're dealing with everything. And we have treatment court participants who run the gamut of age, and a lot of them are facing having parents who are really, really ill, or children who are ill. Or they'll lose a grandparent or a close friend, and they'll often say to us during treatment court sessions, this is the first time I've ever dealt with anything like this sober. And the reality of dealing with grief sober is a shocking reality. And so it's one of the reasons why I think if we just build a little more around them in the end to help support them, I think we might see people transition out a little better, but we can't guarantee the outcomes.
One last thing, and it's
Go ahead.
difficult to judge what the outcome really is. You could look at numbers and say, oh, it's a total failure, look at this, we have
Right.
repeats or whatever, so it could be argued either way. The only thing I've heard is that there's a limited number of people who can avail themselves of the program. So that some people say that we could tighten up the program as far as sanctions go. I mean, these are the rules, let's stick to it. And if those people can't do the program, there's always someone else behind who might make better use of it. Of course, those arguments are judgment.
They are. I will tell you that we are definitely not at capacity. We have room in the treatment court. So there may have been times in the past that the treatment court has been sort of full, but it's certainly not that now. So if I'm not turning away anyone if they want to come in and they're ready to do the work, because it is a lot of hard work.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much. It was nice to meet you all.
thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Take care. I hope you recover well.
Thank you.
Make sure you get checked out for that.
I have, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
All right, moving on. Is that me?
I mean, you can check with Steve Mark or anything, but
Mark, do you have? Let me just see, wait a second.
There.
We could do, I can get into my thing, but Mark also has a non-public, and then he can go on his way if he chose to. If that's all right. And it would be a non-public. Negotiation, RSA 91A32E.
All right, move to go into non-public under RSA 91A32E.
Is there a second?
Sure.
All right,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark, aye, Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
Commissioner DiBernardo.
Bye.
Okay,
we have a.
All right, yeah. So
No,
Okay, somebody want to make a motion to come out of
I
non-public?
make a motion to come out of non-public.
In a
I'll
second,
second.
I would ask that we go into a non-meeting to discuss union matters.
so move.
Second,
Okay, so, all right.
Yes. All right, we're back in public session now. We were in non-public briefly, no decisions were made and no votes were taken.
Yeah, and then we were in a non-meeting, and again, same thing.
How should non-meeting differ from a?
It's usually for legal advice.
It's from either legal advice or union matters. And it's right in there and, yeah, it's outlined what we can and can't do. But they do say if it is one of those two that it falls under, that's what you should go under.
Because there's no minutes taken, there's nothing that anybody can even come back and ask about the conversations. Non-publics, you need to seal or unseal. or
No,
whatever.
and not that we're
There's
trying to
min-
hide anything, it's just that this is the, you know,
Just how it works.
Right.
we just wanted to talk about it, so. All right, moving
Thank
on,
you.
Primex, I think we pretty much beaten that one up.
Yeah.
Looks like we have some success, you know, going, we'll be able to head up there in June and do what we need to do. Monday, I'm in Hinsdale. Want to meet with the select board. At 6:15, that in reference to. The rail trails. And, you know, we, have been, the county, the grants department writes all the grants for all the rails trails that are outside of the city. Keene Pathways does that. We have helped them in the past, and, yeah, we are writing one right now for $80,000 to help connect the rail trail all the way down. And it's not, we're not building new rail trail, but we're upgrading, they've had some washouts, they've had some other issues, so it would be, that's what we'd be addressing. And I just need to make sure that the select board is, in agreement that we move forward. We don't just go into a town and then do this work in their town if they aren't aware of it. And so, and there has been some pushback from individuals that keep up the trails, so we want to make sure we address any concerns, because all we really do is write the grant, get the money, and then the town can, or we can, through the rails trails, Monadnock Rails Trails, set up the workforce that's gonna be needed to get that work done. And again, we're not creating anything new, we're just strengthening what's already there,
Yeah, but when certain groups think they own a section,
correct?
then that becomes the struggle, and they're not gonna do the work. They just wanna make sure nobody else touches their territory.
Right, and our thing is, we've done this in, I don't know how many towns, and people thank us for
Mm,
finding the money to do this work. And if a town doesn't, if the select board said, you know, we're really not, then we'll just, that's fine. But I wanna hear that. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I'll be going and meeting with students at the Granite. What is it, the Granite Prep School, Granite School, at Keene State College it's a charter school that started this year, it's their first year. They asked us to come in and talk about leadership and about county government and things like that. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. Nursing home update, you know, Cheryl and I have been meeting with Catherine. We just have to have, we have the medical director. We are just hope, you know, there's still work to be done on nurse practitioner or physician assistant. Those are the things that we're working on, and we have to trust that the company that we've hired, Vanguard, is gonna be able to, is it Vanguard? Vantage.
Both.
That they're the ones that they're gonna be able to get everything in place. They are in Sullivan and you know, maybe some others that I can't remember, but this is the new trend.
That's what they do.
And this is what they do, and so we're gonna feel confident that it gets done. But I also know that Catherine is somebody that likes to know boom, boom, and boom, and that's why our nursing home runs so efficiently. And so it is a test of calm for us to trust that somebody's gonna pull this all together, but it seems like we're getting closer. And I think this is gonna be a year of learning, and they cost us a little bit more than what we projected, but this was a curveball thrown at us at the 11th hour. And so we're just doing the best we can to ensure that the nursing home is running at the level it needs to, and the care. The good thing about it, though, is the after hours service that they're on call that they have is really, really strong, and people really utilize it. in different ways, and it's telehealth. And so that's something that they're excited about. They're actually getting trained this week on.
Yeah, and it's new. I obviously, as Chris said, trusting the system, and Catherine's just kind of having to come to the resolve that she needs to do that. She's been in the background trying to line up the attending physician, and it hasn't worked out because, for whatever reason, anybody that she keeps looking into, I think their level of interest starts to fade when they start to really look at what their short-term goals are of retiring themselves. And so the people she's working with actually got a little bit of a chuckle because they've never worked with somebody that's been behind the scenes doing the work that they typically do. So that's where, as Chris said, as much as she'd like to just see everything in place, she's just realized, I guess I need to just step back and trust the system. So
That's stressful.
yes.
Staff meal, 5:13. That is when we go up, we'll have a meeting up there, then we serve the meals. So if you can, I think there was an email sent out where you can volunteer your times, if they could, that'd be great.
I haven't heard back from them. Yeah, I gave them a couple options.
Okay, well, I'll follow up with Sabrina to see where things stand.
Maybe Molly, I think Molly's the one that's.
Yeah.
For some reason, I know, but for some reason Sabrina came across mine.
Yeah, Sabrina sent it.
Yeah,
Oh, got it from
Yeah.
There was another email. with
Molly's
different
out there.
names.
And I already they sent out a list
Yeah.
of people, and so I already saw that I
I didn't
was
see that.
put out
I
with
didn't
somebody
see
at
that.
midnight.
You got a lot of
Well, I saw the
people.
one where you said you're doing midnight, but I didn't see a list of.
Well,
Yeah, there's a list of people in it.
we'll ask Sabrina to send something to Davis, and Davis
Yeah.
can send it out to all of us, if that's all right with you, Davis.
Sure.
Yeah, and Molly at the end of April just
Molly.
sent something
Mhm.
to us saying, hello, all, here's the completed list. Only 2 people for each time slot below, and then everything was open except for midnight. It's already booked.
Already booked. After midnight.
All right, World Health Transformation funding. We had Dave Chorney meet with us up at the Primex meeting on Friday and talk about the grant. It was interesting because once he was done, he left and I followed him right up to the door and had a conversation with him. I think with what we're learning, we're gonna be prepared. Our number one goal, I think, is now we know where it needs to land, and that is the charitable trust is where because they're doing all telehealth or internet internet connections, all those type of things throughout the state. That's where one of the categories they fall under. So that's good because initially we're looking at CDFI or A, and that's not where it lands, but something else does. So that's where that one lands. We'll be ready to pursue that shortly. And then one of the things he did say is the Center for Medicaid Services have said this money cannot be used for new build. And so I said, I said, so this is our second thing would be, taking a look at and the expansion of the EMS service. When we built this under pressure. And some of the things that we've learned is that with the ambulances and stuff, we don't have enough bays. Plus, we also don't have a training area that's handicap accessible. Plus, we need, a few more living spaces, all those things, you need to put those all together. That's something we're looking at. I said, so what you're saying is we can only do something that's within our footprint. They said, yes. I said, so if we put a structure in place that had nothing inside, but it was just a footprint of it, he said, then he'd smile, he started laughing, and he said, yes, that you have created new space, and so you can consider that would be something that would be, especially with what you're trying to do with the growth and the pressure and the growth of the runs and the 28% increase in calls. I gave them all that stuff, boom, 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 boom. And so there's some hope there, but it also opened my eyes up to if a town in this region wanted an ambulance service to come, but the only way that we could have them there is if they, for 24/7, is if they did work within that building on that area. So, there's been a few that have talked to us about that. Then I think that in the second year, we could pursue that. And so that's good news too, because because he said, yeah, and he said, but we have to, it's a fine line. Because I don't think if we go into the fire side of it, it's gonna qualify. But if we keep it on the ambulance side of it, or the EMS side of it, it will qualify. So we just have to think about that as we're moving forward. And it's small costs. They like small things that would be shovel ready, because once we get them, we could go right in and do the work that needs to be done. So I think it's very viable, giving opportunities for us to upgrade some places that may need it so that we can service those communities better.
And I was just gonna say that he mentioned that things are gonna really start to come out for us at the end of May.
Yeah.
So pretty
So
soon.
Don I think is gonna be here
Friday.
tomorrow,
Oh, for,
right?
well, Friday's with the Southwest, is he coming 2 days?
Or is it, I can't remember. Not tomorrow, Friday.
It should be Friday unless he's
Yeah.
coming both days.
All right, yeah, he's coming Friday. We're gonna tighten up some stuff too and make sure, because the big grant is what we're really going after.
So can we put a bay on the side of our fire department in Ringe to hold an ambulance?
Could you take a look at the inner workings of where people needed to sleep? And put in a sprinkler system,
Mm-hmm,
and a bathroom, upgrade a
Mhm.
bathroom, a sleeping area, sitting area, all that for the ambulance service that you would want there. Because you have the footprint already in place.
mm-hmm.
I think that would be something that we could take a look at. I've sent multiple emails now to the fire chief, because Steve Fortier connected me with him, and I said, let's meet at some point. I just
The
sent her.
fire chief, the new one in Ringe?
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
heard back from him yet.
Yeah.
I think it's Bobby or something like that.
Foss,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm good.
his last name is Foss.
I am. So if you happen to see him, I'm trying to connect him, because I did say in this thing, I may have a way for us to talk about having an opportunity that came up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where that's at. I just shut my book. I don't know why I did. Remember Swansea, the 20th at 5:30? The forum tonight at 6 p.m. Where we have Rob Millay from SAU 29, Elizabeth Ferlin, city manager,
Mm-hmm.
and myself and Margaret Burns and Senator Finn, all speaking. And it was cool this weekend, and Davis is gonna work on it. This weekend's, radio, I had Jack come back on. But what was cool about it was I brought the owl, right here.
Mhm.
And, set it up, so we recorded the radio program, so we can put it on our website, and that's what I'm gonna start doing. He's gonna have to edit some of it in there, not the content itself, but some of the other stuff that's in there, we just have to work it out, but otherwise,
I see it on the radio.
yeah. So and I dress, as you'll see, I dressed for it, and I'm not gonna change who I am on the radio. You know what I mean? So, but it was,
At least you dressed.
we actually, it was, I think both, because prior to that, we had, Service Link. On, and they talked about their work, and that was actually good. So,
Who's that woman?
Carolyn DeBelle,
Yeah.
she was a hoot. At
Yeah.
one point I said something, and we were gonna, in real life, I've known Carolyn for years, and we were gonna open up an ice cream stand at one point, and we really were, and she did end up starting one up. And I said, and she said, and you always like that ice cream. I said, yeah, and I gotta have ice cream now because it's bikini season. And I just I'm saying this on the radio, and she's like, well, did you get waxed yet? And then the second she said, she's like, oh, But she wasn't done. Now that she went all in at the end. She said, don't forget to get waxed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that causes the editing.
That
no,
was-
that's the-
No, that was,
that's what I did.
no, I didn't do that. See, I wasn't set up yet to
Yeah.
get that portion of the show. I got the second part of the show where Jack, myself and Josh Greenwald, we talked about, downshifting and what it means and all that stuff. So,
Jack speaks very well that,
yeah, he does.
on numerous issues, obviously, but then, yeah.
Well, he's been talking about that for years.
Years.
Mhm.
Transportation situation, Southwest Regional Planning.
Yeah.
And all the rest of that.
So I went to the first meeting. And it was an interesting meeting. Elizabeth and I asked a lot of questions. And at the end of the day, we did say that if they want to put an I think they were going with a, RFI or an RFQ, they want to go on RFP. And so, and to see if there's companies that are out there that would want to come in and, take over for, home
See if there's any interest.
So they have,
But home health care's not going in.
no, I know, they've split the programs now into two different components, one that's keen focused and one that's other focused.
Right. The
And
one we're talking about right now is Keen's focus.
Correct.
What we really hit on them hard was that if there's a vision, that's great, but you got a system in place now. No,
so they're putting together a committee on that. Second piece, but they're really moving forward with some of their own ideas, so.
I just think there needs to be voices at the table. I made that very clear and they said that would be the people I mentioned, which was Smart Ride. And also your, CV,
Gee,
wait, don't tell me, wait, Community Volunteer Transportation Committee.
or.
But it's still C.
It is,
It's
see,
Still C.
I just call it CBT,
Yeah.
people like CBTC, I'm like, you know what I'm
Close
talking
enough.
about.
Yeah,
So, yeah, there'll be a number of us that'll be on that committee.
yeah. So that's where it is. You know, they're. I think what had to happen in that meeting is. They all said right off the bat, they were like, we, like to talk about the mission statement, we'd like to talk about this, we'd like to talk about this. And then we'd like to vote on these, and we both, Elizabeth and I said, stop. How did we get here? Can you start there first? Why, build us up to what you're talking about now. And so that's what the meeting turned into. They turned their agenda upside down. And so that's, and it ended up, I felt more comfortable after that. Especially after asking some of the questions that we had. So it was a good conversation.
If I may interrupt. How about downstairs violence prevention? How's that going? Looks like there's a sign on the door that says, we're not taking walk-ins.
They never do. That sign's been there for a long time,
Forever?
for a long time. you have
Well,
to
it says you
call.
have to call, and then they might take you right then and there, but you still have to call.
Well, yeah.
Um,
Okay, thank you. I'm not very observant.
No, it's a small sign, Jenny.
Very.
It's small, you have to walk up to it to
I
go
see
see it.
some level
Then
of
turn
transition
around.
going on there.
When you're in desperate need.
Still working
No,
on
they're
that.
not, they're not able to really deal with the crisis part of it.
So, that's what I have, and.
Okay, what about,
Yep.
Have we heard anything about the
Not yet.
Purdue Pharma money, that the 30 million that they just,
We brought that up. Well, we brought a few things up, at the meeting, but afterwards, a bunch of, county administrators get together. We're gonna ask, we're gonna put a letter together through our attorney to get, an overview of where things stand, because usually in the springtime, which is now, is when we've got some checks in the past, is what I was told. I can't remember. I just know all of a sudden Cheryl will say we got a check. And we haven't gotten any recently, but there are some.
well, this is a new 30 million.
Oh, I understand, yeah, no, but we're even wondering, like, there are some lawsuits that are paying out over a 14-year period, 16-year period. So annually, we should be getting something into the state. What we do know is that we joined some lawsuits just ourselves. And the state has made it very clear to us, that the law says we have to, if we receive any added money, we have to give it to the state to break up to the subgroups.
Even though we put in the effort to get it?
Because, whether the state chose to go down that road or not, so. Yeah, we're trying to get a better handle of it, and what I thought I'd do too is, attend the next, ask Catherine what the next meeting is and sit in on it, and when they have public comment, ask, if we could get something along with us writing a letter asking us to, what the schedule is, if they could give us something. Because, again, conspiracy theorists in us, and we actually looked at each other like, are they getting the money, not giving it to us? Which,
It's 3 million a year.
yeah,
Yeah, we should get some of it.
and what we're hearing is like the numbers for tourism dollars are way off. Way off, like the revenue is way down in the state. So it's interesting because they also said the business tax is up. And then, the question was asked, well, had they not made the cut, would it be up that much more? The person said yes. So it just, I look at it as we have to figure out how to do our business here. It's about decisions made, and it's the best practice. So that's why we look at it. So I will get back to you on that once I know more. Vote to accept the weekly manifest and minutes of April 29th, 2026.
Second.
All right,
One other question.
yeah,
Any news on the bridge up in West Lion?
yeah, it's about, it's taking this long that next month it will go before the executive committee, the executive council for approval to do the work.
It's taking that long.
Yeah,
You mean should do which work?
Right.
Actual work or the study?
The study,
just to start the study.
right?
Yeah.
Then when you say the work, no, it starts the study.
The study.
Oh
study,
my
sorry.
God,
The other one would be the study for the water of the West.
Yeah, they're putting the RFPs out and they're gonna get that work going.
Yeah, they're up right now, actually.
Are they? Yeah.
Yep. Just posted recently.
Thank you.
So. The Attorney General has signed off on the agreement, and now it's the Department of Administration Services, the last review step before Governor and Council. So that's where it's at. That's all these steps to get going. Okay.
I'm waiting my time.
So, all right, it's in motion on the floor, Commissioner Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart.
Yeah.
Commissioner DiBernardo.
Yes.
All right, calendar.
We've already said, but Maplewood next week, regular start time. I mean. We could do a late start time because lunch doesn't start till around like 11. So far, there's only one thing on the agenda. That's usually
lunch for what?
this or the
That's
meal.
when we're volunteering to.
Like I know you're at midnight.
That's your
but
midnight.
Yeah,
we-
I'm at
others-
midnight, so when I
others
was
still
like,
attend.
we're gonna start late because you guys don't have to do midnight?
Wow.
If you allow you to sleep later, so you can be
No,
ready for midnight.
No,
Okay, this is
I'm up
for
at
you.
5, it doesn't matter.
See, Jack only did that because he lived in Walpole.
I know, but I'm doing it because I know nobody else wants to do that, and I don't want them to be doing it without a commissioner.
Yeah, and especially
think
without
it's
Catherine
important.
this year, Sabrina.
Right.
will Appreciate it. I'm sure.
Yeah,
But that's it. I mean, we'll get back to you on the start time then.
I mean, I don't have a
I
problem at
don't care.
9:30. I mean.
I don't care, I'm
it
just
makes
giving you
everybody's
shit.
life easier.
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay,
I mean, because
yeah,
that
let's
way
move it,
we
let's
have a
move it to
short meeting. We're not
9:30.
sitting there waiting
Yeah,
around.
9:30 is
Let's
fine,
make
right?
sure, Catherine knows.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, so let's
I'm
see.
gonna be away from the 17th through the 21st.
okay. Oh, so you're gonna miss our inspection.
Yes, I am.
That's all right.
Just another thing on June 20th, and I'm not quite sure the time, I feel like it's like 11 to 3 or something. The Employees Association is having their touch a
Okay.
truck event, but it's gonna be at the Keene Rec Center. Last year it was at the Monadnock High School. This time it's gonna be at the Keene Rec Center area, so
You know, it's gonna be so cool.
food being sold and stuff like that,
You know,
so.
what's gonna be cool is that
Yeah, that
My
Chris is
grandkids-
allowing us to use his bathroom for.
my grandkids are gonna be here,
Oh, nice.
so they'll be able to come over and touch the trucks and all that
Yeah.
jazz.
So nice. We fun.
All right, so seeing any other business than adjournment,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
all right,
Yep.
all in favor? Aye, or? yes.
Exactly.
Clark, yes, Stewart,
Yes.
and,
Yes.
You over there.
I was gonna say
You're over.
commissioner, I did say the rest, and they don't like, they're gonna only. Yes,
And-
Bernardo.